Yo, here we are. We're live. As you can tell, we are in a brand new place. This is a long time in the making. We have been trying to get this podcast studio done for, I don't know, I feel like ever since you got here, Ryer, or right after you got here. So it's been over a year and a half, I guess. Well, Ryer, Clay, you've almost been here a year, so it's been well over a year. So it's this is it. We're almost finished. You can't see. You can kind of see a little bit on the bottom. We don't have the trim up, and we've got a big back piece that we're going to be putting right here. But as you can tell on the table, what we're going to be talking about in a little bit is the FX6.
Do I need to take the label off like they do in sports interviews?
No,
Okay.
Nobody sponsors us.
Okay.
So
that's not true. Diamondback Truck Bed Covers sponsors us.
Well, we haven't actually started the true podcast yet. So
this is for the OGs.
This is for the
people who
OGs
get on live.
So probably not going to be very many people because we didn't do a very good job of hyping or telling or planning or doing any of that stuff for this podcast because we're terrible at that type of thing. But here we are. If you could see the other direction, we got two lights here, 60 in the middle with a 50 millimeter shooting the podcast that runs through our video encoder, which runs all the way around the floor to our board that's run into this computer. And this computer runs everything. Ryer is now going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at it on
it does look good,
Redneck Tech.
On the live stream, it looks good.
Does it?
Yeah.
He's going to give you what we're seeing on our side. So we're staring into lights. We've got some overhead lights. We played with the lights a little bit this morning for about an hour to figure out how we wanted to do it. And it's going to look really cool, like I said, when we get this back piece up. Cool thing about this tin, so this tin is off the arbor of my church that was put up in the mid-40s. So this tin is like right at 80 years old. It's been painted over, rained on, beat on, slung off the roof, slung on a roof, drug up here, cut up, and put on a wall. So it's been through it, seen a lot. So it's cool little backdrop. It's about like every other outdoor hunting backdrop you've ever seen. But the cool piece that we're going to build for the background, we've got a couple of ideas, but the idea I like the most, it's going to be a pretty cool backdrop. Got everything, just got to build it now.
I think we should do a group picture of us back there, but that's just...
Before we put it up?
No, just a canvas picture of us three.
Oh.
All three of us?
Yeah.
While we sit here?
Like a family photo type deal.
I'm totally against that.
I would be okay with a family photo if we go to the mall and do it in like...
Santa?
No, you do it.
Oh,
you know how they
God.
have the photo studios in the mall, and you
Like in Step Brothers.
Yeah, but we do it 90s style, awkward 90s style. You ever seen awkward 90s family portraits?
I would put it up if we did like a collage and a odd, 90s style awkward prom pose with you two, and then we did like disco on one, and then like the middle it'd have to be like Step Brother style, like completely off
the wall.
Have you seen the one that Dudley had done in his office yet? So he got the Step Brothers. You know how they go in for the interview?
Oh, I think he's posted on his Instagram.
Yeah, he did. I saw it in his office the other day when I did his podcast. It's the Step Brothers in their suits to go in for the interview, and their feet are hanging off the couch, and they all have on the green knock-on Air Jordans, and it's all like accented in green, and I'm like, that's pretty funny.
That's sick.
So he had, I don't know who did the artwork, but it looked really cool. But I figured we'd get on, talk for a few minutes before everybody jumped on, and go over the review. I don't have a ton of notes for the review, honestly. I just know what I'm liking, what I'm not liking. Y'all have ran it more than I have. So I was just going to kind of go over.
Has run it the most.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to go over a quick and dirty review here in a little bit whenever we start the podcast. But nobody's getting on with us yet. We didn't tell anybody, or they just got tired of waiting on us because we're 3 weeks behind on doing podcasts. We've been really busy. It's been very, very busy. Oh, there's Tate. Tate finally got on.
Tony's on.
Tony's on? Is Tony still on? He was on.
At 4:30. It's now 4:47. He might have got tired of waiting.
Yeah, he probably got tired of waiting. I'd have got tired of waiting on us. So, anyway.
I had to have my coffee.
So, as always, guys, if you have any questions during the podcast, feel free to type them into the live stream, and we'll answer them. And afterwards, if you have a question, Redneck Tech Podcast on Instagram, rednecktechpodcast@gmail.com, rednecktechpodcast.com. So it's Really easy to find us. So without further ado, let's roll into the actual podcast.
The Redneck Tech Podcast is brought to you by Diamondback Covers, the absolute best cover you could ever spend your money on. If you need an insurance policy for all the expensive gear on the back of your truck, then you need a Diamondback cover. Make the bed of your truck a vault with Diamondback.
Right here, right here. Yeah. You want him? Yeah. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? There's Devin. Devin just got on the live stream. So we are just now starting episode 126. We've been on here for a couple minutes on the live stream before the podcast. So if you're not a regular listener of the podcast and you enjoy it, we always try and do a live stream, or we're going to try and continue to do it. We've done it a couple times. But now that we've got the studio set up, if you're not watching live, we're sitting in our new studio, not completely done yet. We still got some trim work to do and a back piece to do. But these are live on Instagram. These are live on YouTube, and we try and do some question and answer and stuff before and after the podcast. So if you ever want to talk to us, hit us up. You need to subscribe to us on YouTube. That way that you can get the notifications when we go live. And obviously we leave these up, and we record the podcast for the audio listeners as well. So there's obviously a couple different ways to listen. But for those of you that have been OGs and stuck with us the whole time, we are 95% done with the studio. We are actually filming the first podcast in the studio. We've got our backdrop, we've got our room, we've got our table, everything's set up, and now all we have to do is flip on lights, flip on a camera, and we're done. And it's going to save us a lot of time, hopefully make us to where we can podcast more, which I know that's what we want to do, is be able to do more and more podcasts for you guys. And hopefully learn you something. Hopefully learn us something. So today we're going to be talking about the FX6. So what if we just go through like first impressions, first things first, like the first time we held the camera. I know the first time I picked it up, I thought it was a toy.
It's really light.
It didn't feel real.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like as heavy as you think it should.
Well, we've been running the FX6. You've been running the FS5 for a long time.
Wait, no, FS7.
Oh, whatever. FS5. We have been running, me and Ryer have been running the FS7.
Ryer and I, technically.
Right, shut up. For a long time. And Clay has run the FS7 some, but he's ran the FS5 the most. So those are the FX6 body and size and weight is very similar to the FS5. I think it's even lighter.
Yeah, it's lighter.
So
everything else is basically the same.
So, but in terms of like components and how the camera's laid out and all that, very similar to the FS5. So if you're a fan of the FS5, the ergonomics, then you'll love this camera. But in terms of compared to the FS7, it's a lot lighter and a lot smaller, like significantly lighter and smaller, to the point to where it feels like I'm going to break it every time I touch it. And you guys, Clay being the one that's ran it the most, y'all have ran it more than I have. I had to slum it on my last shoot, still take the FS7 while you guys took the nice camera. Just want to point that out, that I gave them the nice cameras.
Well, no.
I took the slummer camera.
You had to take the, quote, slummer camera because it had cache record.
We didn't have to tell anybody that.
Well, you're not going to make us look bad.
That's what I was trying to do.
No, you're trying to play the oh, poor, pitiful me.
Yeah, well, y'all ruined it for me.
You're trying to play the martyr here.
So anyway, I took the FS7, still laid down some epic stuff because the camera's not as important as who's running. Let's be honest with that. But anyway,
that's why you could give me a Nokia flip phone and still make possibly the greatest cinematic masterpiece of all time.
Oh, here we go. So
moving on.
First thing is it felt like a toy. But I don't want to get into and guys, if you're watching this for like a review of the technical breakdown and the this, that, and the other thing, you're watching the wrong review, wrong podcast, because we're going to give you our experience and our kind of like real world using the camera, what we like and what we don't like. Our experience is we've ran a red a little bit. We've ran FS7s extensively. Ran my R5 a bunch, 5D Mark II, 3, and 4. So, I mean, we know our way around a camera. So when we do this, and we do a lot of run and gun style, we shoot some stuff off tripods and interviews and stuff like that. But we're very documentary style filmmakers and video and content creators. So when we do this review, keep that in mind. We're not going to break down like all these other reviews every dot and tittle and point that this camera has. There's a lot of aspects of this camera that we might not ever even break into, because it's not what we do on a day-to-day basis. But for what we do, and this is a question I want to ask you guys at the end, this is a wonderful, wonderful outdoor content creator camera. Price tag, not the best, but you get what you pay for. And so far, with the exception of one thing that we recently found, which I still haven't not narrowed it down on the dead pixel. I don't know if that was the camera, if it was something on the lens, something on the sensor. I don't know. Surely the guy that's not in the camera, but that's something we got to figure out. But if that is the case, if it does have a dead pixel like we had in some of our last footage, we got bigger issues because these are brand new cameras. But like I said, we haven't tested it enough to know that yet, and I don't want to jump to conclusions because it looked like a dead pixel, but it could have been a.
Well, it wasn't in every clip either.
Yeah, that's what kind of worries me of where it came from. Anyway, I don't want to.
Also want to add, half the reason we're not going to go into every single technical aspect of this camera is because we're not possibly going to be as thorough as the people who already have done that. So if what you're looking for is a breakdown of every single technical aspect of this camera, I'd recommend going and looking up Philip Bloom's review on it, or any camera. I mean, honestly, if you want a really thorough, detailed technical analysis of a camera, Philip Bloom's your guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, before we purchased it, you watched his whole thing.
I watched several of them.
I watched it before I ran it, and I'm probably going to watch it again just to get more information on how to run the camera more effectively. But I mean, he does a really good job. So I think this is more of a review of how does this camera apply to our specific space in the filmmaking content creation world, as opposed to just a technical breakdown, because you can get better ones of those from guys who are more knowledgeable and have tested it more. So
far, where have we taken the camera? First time the camera ever left the office was we took it to Florida on a turkey hunt.
Mm-hmm.
If we call it a turkey hunt, it was kind of a cluster. Didn't really see many turkeys, didn't really do anything, but we shot a bunch of really pretty B-roll with it, and good light and good situation. So that was, it shined. It did really well. It was nice to have, nice to travel with, small, light, ergonomic, all those things. Then you guys took it to Illinois, right? That was kind of its first real test, wasn't it?
I think, didn't you take it somewhere in between there?
No, Illinois, and then I went to Kentucky twice. Well, I filmed a wedding with it.
Oh.
And didn't you?
Yeah, you have ran it way more than ever.
Port?
Oh, and then I took it to Port St. Joe, yeah.
Yeah, you ran it like
a lot more than what I
way
thought.
more than we have. Okay,
I've had one, because you ran the FX6 in Florida, I did not.
And I ran it for like 2 days.
And I ran the FS7 down there, and I ran the FX6 when we were
Clay got to take
Illinois.
pictures. It sounds like Clay's gotten a lot of the good gigs lately. What the heck?
I didn't film. The only turkey hunt I took a video camera on was when I went with Jamie that one morning and we didn't hear gobble. Every other turkey hunt was photos, all spring.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, sorry, the Spy Point one with Billy.
Okay.
But then
I was to say that's bullcrap.
Other than that, everything was photos.
Yeah, I would just I just like to point out that when we were in Illinois, he finagled his way into somehow only calling for the turkey hunt that we did with Greg.
I took photos.
And then he didn't have to do any.
None of the heavy lifting.
He basically, because I mean, we've talked to Greg about turkey hunting on this podcast,
yeah.
so his views on how much he likes turkey hunting are very public, which is to say he doesn't like it that much.
Yeah.
And Clay was trying to talk him into letting Clay and I turkey hunt. And that morphed into, we're going to go film a turkey hunt for Hunt Masters.
Yeah.
That Greg was basically doing begrudgingly. Just to like humor Clay. So Clay talked him into doing this, and also talked him into just calling.
No.
Yes.
Greg asked me if I wanted to call, and I wasn't going to say no.
Oh,
But
okay.
then
And there's only 2 other people to film, so it just happened.
Okay.
But you can call and
You
film.
want me to take that really hot girl on the date? I mean, if I have to. I mean, okay.
So, anyways, basically, Clay created all of this work
We're getting
for
very
us.
off subject.
I don't care because I need other people to know how much work you made us
You
do.
created for us.
And
He did work himself into a couple pictures though. Like he made sure it looked like he was working.
to be fair, I made him take those pictures.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
like, hey, get in a picture with Greg, and I was like, no. He goes, you're gonna want a picture with Greg. Get in the picture, and I was like,
I
okay.
mean, to be fair, he did call the turkey in for Greg, and I was like, look,
very well.
how often do you get to call in a turkey for Greg?
Yeah.
Probably once ever.
Yeah.
Because after that hunt, Clay was really excited. They hugged. They shared a whole bromance.
Were tears
moment.
shed?
Almost. I have it on camera too.
Dang, why
I
am
mean-
I just now hearing
Clay,
about all this?
Clay did a hop, skip, and a jump on his way up there.
I was kind of excited.
He was very excited. So Clay's super excited, and I mean he's on a high all day.
Oh,
all
yeah.
day, just like. I mean that's probably.
So
the
you're telling
happiest
me
I've
you
ever
didn't
seen him.
knock him down a peg at some point that day?
I continually knock him down pegs. I knocked him down a peg as soon as we had to get up and film the thing at 4 a.m.
Yeah, we're down there in his basement in our little producer area, and I'm like, man, I'm excited, and I'm jumping around, and Ryer goes, shut up, you don't have to film tomorrow. You're getting up and you're calling. Don't say anything.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
The whole reason I have to get up way before it's light, because all the other stuff we need light to do.
Yeah.
The only reason I have to be up before the sun is up is because he talked us into this entire deal.
In all fairness, Greg said he'd had fun.
He did, but he didn't say he had.
He told
so
Caleb
much fun.
he told Caleb he had fun, which therefore
He
was
called me to
he
tell
was
me he
not
had fun.
he was not lying to us to make us feel good.
I'm just upset I didn't
But
get to
didn't-
go because
but
I
didn't
mean
he
we hyped up this turkey hunt all year and I didn't even get to go on it.
But didn't he
I
say
called you.
it wasn't as exciting as he thought that it would be?
What? He's killed a turkey before.
Aaron looked over at one point and when the turkey was coming in, and Greg's eyes were closed.
Come
Hey,
on, Greg.
I'm telling you, he is through and through, like whitetails.
Yeah, whitetails and adventure hunts. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, I mean, I'm not listening. Yeah, we'll go down that rabbit hole too far.
Which I mean, I'm sure, I know of other guys who are like that.
Oh yeah.
I know of other guys who couldn't care less about turkeys.
Yeah, I can name a lot of them,
So
and I know a lot of guys who couldn't care less about anything but turkeys. So
Yeah.
it goes both ways. It's for each their own. But anyway,
I just wanted it noted that we had to do a whole bunch of work, and whether or not that ends up in a show,
we don't.
right,
Even,
I'm 50-50 right now. I'm 50-50 whether that ends up in a show next season. You know what I mean?
well, so since Clay has ran the camera more than anybody, let's get him to talk about the first point in the thing, and that is,
Oh, we have notes?
yeah. Well, I just kind of just general talking
Oh.
points. What did you like? What's your
Well-
favorite feature of the camera? 'Cause we're gonna get into what you don't like.
The
But
the fact that the ergonomics are just like the FS5,
okay.
so I don't feel like I'm carrying another camera. It's just buttons are a little different,
Mm-hmm.
but I've gotten used to that now.
Okay. What did you like about it so far? Since you haven't ran the FS5, you'll have kind of a fresh perspective on it.
I do like how small it is. I like how light it is. I haven't ran it on a hunt yet, so I'm interested to see how things will change.
You're about to.
When?
End of June.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm interested to see how things will change. On something like a Elcon, I can't imagine that it's not going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah,
not
no
having
doubt.
an FS7. I think
Actually looking forward to that
in a
part.
tree stand, it's going to be awesome because I think it's just going to take so much weight off the end of the arm.
Well,
that
traveling
you're
with
gonna-
it,
that you're
traveling
gonna-
with it's
yeah.
been so much nicer. I mean, we cut down the case size by 30% that
Mhm.
we could put the camera in. That's a big
Well,
deal.
y'all actually using the same case.
But I can bring
you're-
30% more
You're
stuff in
putting
the
more
case.
stuff in the case.
Well, your case, the case that you run that one in is 30% smaller.
than y'all's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run the same case as what I did with my FS5.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's you can it just takes up less room.
I
and-
have that, a gimbal in the case, and then a hard case with 3 sets of mics in it.
Yeah.
All in a case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the size is nice because you can put the camera and yourself in a few places probably that you couldn't get an FS7 in.
Or wouldn't want to.
Like running it in a car is significantly easier than
Yeah.
running the FS7
Oh, yeah.
in a car. And the fact that without the arm that Clay's got on here and the monitor being able to kind of flip down and rotate, it turns into a pretty compact little package when you need to just put it in a seat.
I like how it
or
sits
whatnot.
flat.
Flat, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, my gosh. And for those of you listening, like the FS7, it has an arm on it like that. Like that, this arm, so Clay will turn that around so you can see the arm. That's aftermarket. It doesn't come with that. And Clay runs it because he's used to it. Only time I ran it without the arm, and it was fine for me without the arm. So you can run it both ways, and that's something we were going to talk about. But that arm on the FS7 is standard, and it doesn't go all the way up like that.
It goes down out the back.
It goes down out the back, and it is a huge pain because it never sits flat on a table, never sits flat in the back seat. You always have to hold the stupid thing. And holding a camera all the time sucks. You want to just sit that thing down and leave it. Versus lots of times the FS7, you would try and sit it down on a flat surface and it would just fall over. And I've had them break monitors, break microphones, you know.
Or you got to put it in your lap and put your feet together and
Yeah.
riding on a bumpy road with
Yeah.
your knees together the whole time.
God,
sucks.
dude, it's miserable. It's so terrible. And that
Like
one
anybody who has an FS7 knows
knows
like
the struggle.
Yeah.
all the different ways you've learned over the years to like try to carry it comfortably
Yeah.
in a car.
And there's not a good way to do it. And that's one of the features that I absolutely love about it. And that sounds small, but it is not small. Not as much time as we carry those stupid things around. It makes a gigantic difference on your arm fatigue at the end of the day where you're versus holding it, or when you have downtime, you can literally sit the thing down flat. Like FS7, you have to kind of like
Lean it against something.
lean it against something, or kind of like roll it into a bush. Like you couldn't just sit it down on the ground. Like it just didn't work that way. And that was a
Like you
really
need
big pain in the butt.
You would need at least that much space to
Yep.
lay that camera down.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, your surface area doubles when you try and lay the camera down. But the biggest takeaway
The one
for
thing I don't like about it though,
we're not getting into that yet.
Oh,
Don't
oh,
get it
but
done.
this has to do
Nope.
with size.
Okay, go ahead.
Is for me when we were shooting a couple of those skits with Greg and Ray,
Mm-hmm.
holding the camera like this on my shoulder for like 7 minutes was really difficult.
Well, and that's
and
why
trying to get
that's why I went with the
trying to
arm.
get a steady shot while being able to pull focus and everything was tough for me.
And that's
Like I was
why
getting some
went with the
serious arm fatigue trying to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's because your arm is locked up like this and it's flexed the whole time, which is not the main reason, but it's one reason why I got that is because it's just more natural.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a grown man too.
I didn't say I let down. I didn't say I let down. I said it was uncomfortable.
So okay,
And my arm was in pain.
So the ergonomics could improve. That was something that I was going to say too. I was that's in my list. But the biggest takeaway I had the first time running it was that first morning turkey hunting. The low light is absolutely incredible. And when I say it's incredible, I could shoot high speed footage with no noise before Ryer could really even use his image in regular. That first morning. The high and low band ISO setting is unbelievable for guys that are filming hunts for that low light. I mean, it sees better than your eye can see.
I filmed in 120 at that wedding at the reception, and the only lights that were on were like the DJ's like disco lights, and you could see faces. The eye autofocus was working.
Yeah. It's the low light on that camera is incredible, and that's with f4 and 2.8 lenses. Like that's not even with like really nice fast lenses. So it's one of those things to where if you want a camera with low light, like I'd put that next to an A7S II for low light capabilities.
100%.
I mean, it is dumb good in low light.
Like the days of, hey, we're running out of camera light.
No.
That's not gonna happen.
No, I don't think so either. And that's with us not even adding gain or any ISO.
No.
If you gained your ISO, I mean, you could film in the moonlight.
Yeah.
Like that's how good it is in low light. It's crazy good which is something that we want to try and do. I want to try and do more of this year is get some really cool creative stuff in light situations that we've never gotten to film.
Well, think about the
getting ready in the mornings, things like
so that one scene that we shot in Missouri, which was basically, I had the FS7 with an f4 lens, and I filmed the whole thing basically just with a green headlamp.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it worked, but you had to have the headlamps beam fully on exactly what it was you wanted to shoot. And I think with that, you could film that whole scene and have all the ambient greens spill across the scene and across the shots like they do when you're actually looking at something with a green light.
I think that thing is going to
really do some cool stuff.
It's so good in low light that like when you're in the regular, it's called low light and highlight mode. When you're in the low light mode and you're running out of light, it's so good in low light that when you push it to the highlight mode, you have to turn your NDs on.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe how well it did on that first turkey hunt morning because I was like texting you. I'm like, I'm in 120 and I can see perfect. And you're like, dude, I can't even see, and I'm not even high speed.
I had to check my camera because I looked at mine and I couldn't see, and you're telling me you're in 120. I was going,
there's no way.
Do I have NDs on? Is my f-stop jacked up?
Yeah.
Do I have my shutter speed way up? Like, how is he being able to see? There must be something wrong
I would
with my
say
camera.
it's 4 to 5x better than the FS7.
I'd say 5 or 6 stops probably.
Yeah.
When you think about it, though, the FS7 is what, a 6, 7, 8-year-old camera?
Yeah.
You're also
And when did the A7S2 come out? 4 or 5?
Probably 5 years.
And that was
4 years ago.
That was the first camera that I ever remember being like, this is if you want to film hunts in low light, you got to get this camera.
Yeah.
Like everybody and their mom wanted an A7S2 because of how good it was in low light. And that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So now Sony has taken that technology and put it into this 4 or 5 years later.
And virtually no noise.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, not enough to notice.
And
I mean, if you get a big monitor, like, yeah, you can see a little bit of noise, but I don't think I've ever shot in a camera in relatively low light you can't see noise with.
And it's also FS7, FS5 is Super 35.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting, I think where I read somewhere, if you go from Super 35 with the same settings and everything to a full frame, you get like a stop and a half of light.
Yeah.
So you're gaining that automatically just by having a full frame camera.
Yeah. So it's dumb in terms of low light. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was color science. So Ryer, I'll let you talk about S-Cinetone because we've been talking about that with Aaron some about what we're going to shoot, and that's another really big advantage to this camera is it comes with a Sony color preset or a color space called S-Cinetone, which they were really up until now was only available on like the Venice. Yeah, the Venice. They're big cinema cameras, and so they put that technology into that tiny little thing.
Yeah, so I think for a long time, Sony has been known for kind of their shoddy color science. I mean, I know just coloring FS7 stuff, they're always got this weird kind of yellowish green hues to them.
Yep.
And just straight off of the camera, they don't look as good as like the Canon colors, or even Panasonic usually has pretty good colors.
Yeah.
And so with this camera, they have the S-Cinetone, which is it's a Rec 709 color space, so it's not a log color profile as far as I'm aware, but it looks really nice out of camera. So you can shoot, put it in a timeline, edit it, and maybe do some minimal color correction, and it's going to look really, really nice.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a really, really
it would be
nice
really
look to
nice for something like if you had a content piece, like a social media project that you had to turn and burn. You've got to go shoot it that day, edit it that evening, and have it out that night. S-Cinetone is something that you could do minimal changes to if you shot it in the right light with the right color temperature and all that stuff. If you know what you're doing, you could go in, touch color up some exposure things, and turn and burn a piece if you had to. It's that good to where it comes out of camera very similar to the way that your eye sees. You said that you feel like the greens are a little oversaturated is really the only thing that you didn't like about it?
To me, the green hue seems a little dark as far as like when you're looking at a green in, let's say, Lumetri, you can either slide it more towards the yellow or slide it more towards like a deep green. It feels a little too deep green to me and a little too saturated. And the oranges seem a little bit too red.
This is also very nitpicky about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm
we
nitpicky.
are being very nitpicky about it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
But
trying to find flaws in it for you guys, but this is
the greens are just what stood out to me. Like when I looked at the image, I was like, holy crap, the greens are like really in your face.
y'all are both wearing shirts Travis gave you. I just noticed that.
Nice.
I was gonna wear that hat and that shirt today. And I'm glad I didn't.
Nice.
It's been very awkward.
So and that could also be because it could be because of the environments we're shooting in. I mean, we're in Florida,
Yeah.
which is very green, and then
The Rambo stuff was very green
Rambo
too. That
stuff
we
was
did.
very green.
Yeah.
But that looked really good right out of the camera. I didn't do a whole lot to that.
The stuff I just did from Kentucky, I added some contrast and changed white balance when I forgot to. And other than that, I mean, I didn't really touch saturation at all.
Yeah. It looked really good.
Yeah.
How was it as a studio camera type thing, like sitting it on a tripod?
Fine.
Just fine. What about the monitor size? To me, the monitor feels small, but it's not any smaller than the FS7.
To me, it feels small because on my FS5, I didn't have that sunshade.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I could see off the sides of the viewfinder if I wanted to, where that, like, I'm restricted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I am getting used to. But, I mean, as far as a studio camera, it was perfectly fine. Nothing.
Yeah. So
I like how the sunshade folds like how it
Yes.
does.
Oh, I do
Closed
too.
down, yeah.
Because then you can, when you're just hauling it around or you don't need to be looking at the monitor, you can just kind of close it up and
keep the dust off
it
of
keeps
it.
the dust off of it and hopefully some scratches off of it. And I just feel like it keeps it looking nice.
Yeah, it makes the. Hopefully, it'll extend the life of that thing, because that's what I'm afraid of, is ripping those things off. Which, I mean, in the past, these cameras have been way more rugged. Like the FS7, dude, those things are workhorses, man. We've put those things through the ringer, and we've still got one down there that'll go right now if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're gonna end up eventually selling and replacing with another one of these. But what do you not like?
I hate the mic mount.
Yeah.
Mic mount sucks. Well, I take back. It doesn't suck. It's going to break at some point.
Well, all right, let's back up. I forgot one thing. Outside of S-Cinetone, the image on this thing is crazy good.
Really sharp.
Very, very sharp. Significantly better than the FS7. I like it a lot. And it shoots 4K 120, which is really nice. And it'll shoot 240 frames at 1080, which in my opinion is too slow, but if you want that, it'll do it.
I did a couple shots that shot in the Crescent Tool short.
Yeah.
With the Polaris driving past and all the water coming up,
Yeah.
that one was 240.
Yeah.
I think for stuff like that,
Shooting
240
archery with Dudley.
Yeah.
240 would be cool.
So there is reasons for it and reasons to do it, but I'm just saying in terms of image, which I know that's kind of the most important part of the camera, it's wonderful.
Oh.
Couldn't complain about the image at all.
I also like how it doesn't have a traditional histogram.
Yeah.
It has waveforms.
Yeah.
And Aaron taught me how to use waveforms in like 3 minutes at Greg's while we were setting up a skit. I love them way more than a histogram now.
Yeah.
Waveforms are awesome. So it has that instead of a histogram.
So back to what we don't like. The mic mount sucks.
Yes.
And show why it sucks.
I have an over-under that each of us will break it at least once.
Oh, 100%.
So this mic mount, that's what the mic mount already does.
Yeah, it
already bounces.
And it's just got.
It's the same exact mic mount as the FS5, and I broke 2 last fall.
And they're made to break. These cameras are made to be documentary film cameras, and they're just made to break. And eventually, that's going to get caught on a limb, drug out of a truck, and it's going to get caught on something. It's going to get ripped off.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get gaff taped until we get back because that's the only one. That's what you can do.
I might order one and just keep it with me.
Yeah.
Because it broke on my 30-day stunt last year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get one ordered because we went 4 different places in 30 days. So I had
keep
to
it with you.
How does it replace? Does it just
it unscrews from the handle.
Well, there's also another option too, is carrying one that just goes into that cold shoe, just so you had one.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case, and that'll be significantly cheaper than buying that piece from Sony. I guarantee that piece from Sony's $200, $300.
This?
Yeah.
No, I paid like $12 for one.
What?
You just get on Sony's like replacement parts thing,
Well,
and
if you can find it for $12, buy half a dozen of them, because we will need that. What I don't like about it, going back to what I said earlier, is the ergonomics aren't the best for long times hand holding it, but the ergonomics kind of have to be what they are because of how big the camera is. There's not a whole lot else you can do with it unless you start adding things like the arm that Clay has on there now.
well, and y'all are also used to being able to put the camera
On my
your shoulder
versus like kind of pull it into my chest and hold it.
I'm used to like the battery basically sitting on my collarbone.
Yeah.
So
Well, see, I had that happen with it was on my FS7, that 90, doing that, and it eventually breaks the battery.
yeah,
So it's
but
just not a great option.
me being a shorter person, I have to have the arm to get it up here because otherwise I end up filming a lot of people upwards.
Well, there's another thing too, is it's so light that you can probably get away with holding it like that. So
Yeah.
Originally this piece right here goes right here. So if you're listening, this arm has the handle on it. Normally this handle is attached to the side of the body, and you kind of hold it right here and film, which actually that doesn't feel bad at all. But if I had to hold that for 5 to 7 minutes, it wouldn't be great. So
I think the problem with the 5 to 7 minutes is I also had the big lens on there, and I was fully zoomed in, and I was trying to.
That big lens is
stable.
really nice until you put
yeah.
it on that camera, and it makes that camera hard to run.
It makes it very top or
Well,
very
it just
front heavy.
you just about have to have the arm to run that big lens. I like the big lens.
See, I don't know if I like the big lens for the fact that I feel like I got to be 40 yards away from anybody to get it to focus.
My
The
only,
close
go ahead. So go ahead.
the close focus distance on that big lens is
Not good.
not good.
I wonder if that's to force you to get that compression by backing up and zooming in.
I don't know what it is, but it kind of annoys me.
My only issue with it is all of us have a 24 to 105 type equivalent. So why carry an extra lens if we have that?
I like the servo part of it.
Yeah.
It is big and heavy.
That lens looks really nice.
Yeah, it does.
The lens looks really nice image-wise. What I'm worried about is in a tree stand. Am I going to be able to pull focus with that lens? Like if that's the do everything lens, am I going to be able to have it backed up and pull focus close enough to be able to do interviews in a tree or B-roll or whatever it is?
I like peeking on the camera a lot too.
Yes, peaking is very good.
Yeah, that's another thing I didn't talk about.
Another thing I don't like is they took center scan out.
Yeah.
So
and they took cache record out.
Yeah. So my 18 to 105, which turned into a 36 to 210, is no longer a 210 lens.
Yeah.
So
Another
you can go from full frame to Super 35, and that cuts in.
There's one big glaring thing that Sony did that really pissed me off. And that was they changed the cards. And they made the cards really expensive, and only they make them. So Sony, I hope you see this. That's some BS, because you already charged us, was it $6,000 or $7,000 for the camera, and then you made me spend almost another $1,000 to get two tiny little cards that are going to get lost. And that's
plus a card reader.
Plus a card reader that we didn't have. So now I have to carry a CF Express A card reader for this thing, CF Express B card reader for my R5, XQD for the FS7, SD card reader, micro SD card reader. It's just like all we do is carry. Whole thing is just readers and cables, just so we can dump footage. It's so stupid. Why couldn't you make it CF Express B like everything? Isn't it B or A?
I don't know. I know it's the small one.
This itty bit, you probably can't even see it. So freaking tiny. But that little tiny card just for the read and write speed, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Is they just don't like, why create a whole new card system?
Cha-ching.
Yeah, that's what it was for. It's to make money. And
Well,
it makes me so mad. Justin Gross wants to know what beard oil you use.
I'm messaging him back.
Oh, okay.
This today
cute.
is just like some Walmart brand because I have ADHD and I forget that things run out and then I forget to order them online and then I'm like, crap, I need beard oil. So then I go to Walmart and I get it and then I'm good until it runs out again and then the same thing happens again.
Cycle happens.
I
Yeah.
can't talk about your beard oil anymore because I have oil that I now rub on my scalp to get my hair to go back.
It's not, look, I'm going to tell you the same thing that people ask me when they ask what they can do to get a bigger beard, and it's to have different genetics.
Oh, God.
And it's the truth. With beards, it's like it either grows a certain way or it doesn't.
We've been running down the interstate this whole time, and we just hard exit.
You caused this
Sorry,
exit.
I did.
So look, Clay, I hate to tell you, but I wouldn't probably spend a whole lot of money on that oil. It's not going to work. I'm just saying.
So
it's
another
not,
thing I don't like about the camera
have you tried Brock's
is
hat?
when
Have you seen Brock's hat?
when you
He
film
hasn't seen Brock's hat. Have
when-
you seen Brock's hat?
the
Brock's
visor
got
with-
an infrared hat. You
the
can't win
visor-
this one. Brock has an infrared hat that he puts on it. They make it look like it's a ball cap, but it's got like these infrared lights on the top of it, and you're supposed to wear it 20 minutes a day or something.
I want one.
It's the most ridiculous looking thing I've
I'll
ever seen in my
wear
whole
it
life.
for 20. I'll wear it for 40.
I don't know if that's how it works. You need to ask Brock if it's been working for him.
Okay. Well,
I feel
let's
like that has a better chance of working than some
get
oil.
back to the camera.
You brought it up.
Okay, what else do we not like?
So when you go into S&Q mode, it'll change your shutter from whatever it's in. So when we were with Greg filming in 30 frames a second, shutter's at 60. When you go into S&Q, it'll change it to the
base, like 120.
yeah, which is fine. And the FS5 would do this when you would take it out of S&Q, it would go back to your regular speed shutter.
It won't change the
It
shutter
won't
back.
shutter. I don't know if that's a setting thing that you have to turn on.
Yeah, well, my thing is, what's that setting called?
Yeah, exactly. Because histogram in the menus is not called histogram.
What's it called?
Exposure monitoring something. So yeah, I don't like that because there was a lot of times we do something with Greg and then I almost filmed an entire skit with 30 frames a second, 120 shutter,
Yeah.
which you probably wouldn't have been able to tell that big of a difference,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it doesn't.
Center scan
Have
and
we
cache
figured-
record is
have
kind
we
of BS, though.
Have we figured out how to make it
Especially when you have
reset the
full
shutter
frame.
speed?
That's what he was just
that's
talking
what we were
about.
talking about.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
was responding to the beard question.
Yeah, so the fact that it doesn't have center scan and cache record, those are big. I used both of those things
All the time.
a lot.
And I was really hoping, because when we were first talking about it, I literally said, as long as you can set center scan to an assignable button, they can change anything they want.
And
And they
for-
completely took it
For
out.
those that are listening, center scan is essentially it takes your sensor, which when you're filming in 1080 uses the whole sensor because the camera will film in 4K, but it kind of spreads that that I don't really know how it does it, but essentially center scan uses the center of the
Sensor.
to double your lens. So it uses 4K but shoots in 1080 if that makes sense.
And you don't lose light.
And you don't lose light, you don't lose any quality, it just doubles your lens length. So center scan all the time when we
Your
had something
effective lens light.
your effective lens length. So if you had a 105, like a 24 to 105, it made it a 48 to 210. And you could reach out there and touch something a little bit better if you needed a longer lens. Like you could put that 600 on there and put center scan on and count craters on the moon.
Or your 70 to 200 basically turned into a 140 to 400.
Yeah, so it makes the lens that much longer. Now it makes it also really, if you don't have image stabilization, really shaky if you're not on sticks.
I found pulling focus was also difficult.
A little tougher, yeah.
And the amount of peaking
Yeah.
points you got would be decreased.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a soft lens, it was very apparent that you're running a soft lens.
Yeah. So there were drawbacks to it, but if you were trying to get B-roll of deer on the side of a hill, it was nice to have. The other thing was the cache record, which I used all the time. And what cache record does is you could set it to between 2 and 8 seconds, which I think I had mine set on 4 or 6 seconds. And essentially, you would turn the button on. I had mine as a preset. It was my number 2 or number 3 button on my preset on my FS7, which I still have it on my FS7. I'd hit that button, and it would, instead of saying standby, where the button flashes up and it says record, and we hit record again, it'll say standby, that would say cache. And what it's doing, the camera's recording all the time, but it doesn't write to the card until you hit the record button. And when you hit the record button, it would record the 4 seconds before you hit record, and then until you hit the record button to end. So you would get 4 extra seconds of video that you wouldn't normally get. And for filming ducks or turkeys coming in or bow fishing, things like that, when things happen really quickly, and just like a lot of times when we would film things, like when I'd film bow fishing, literally I'd hold the camera, I'd have it on cache record, I'd hold the camera here on my shoulder until somebody said fish, and I literally just point that direction, hit record, and they could be shooting as I'm hitting record, doesn't matter, I'd still get it because I'd have the 4 seconds before that. So I'd get on the fish and get the shot and everything, and get the audio of them saying fish, fish, fish right here. Same thing with turkey hunting. You just point the camera to the direction you think the turkey's going to pop up, and instead of just rolling video forever and ever and ever, as soon as you saw that turkey pop into frame, hit record, and you've got him coming out in the field. It's super, super nice. It's a great feature that why the heck they took it off, I have no earthly idea. But those are 2 that I'm really hoping come out in firmware updates, because I wouldn't think they would be anything other than software in the camera to do that.
I'm pretty sure there is.
I think there's already
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is already a firmware update to allow you to shoot RAW inside the camera.
Oh, God.
So we need to do that. I know the one just came out for the R5. I haven't done yet. I've still got it in my email.
And I think I was talking to Aaron about it. And I think it's just a firmware. I don't even think you have to pay extra for it. I don't think it's an upgrade. I think it's just a straight firmware to where you can record RAW.
So they just released the camera too early again?
Well, that's the typical thing that cameras do, or that companies.
Well, they released it
nowadays.
early and then didn't have enough available to buy. So
Yeah, how long did you wait on the one?
I bought that in August, and we got it in late October. No, that was the R5.
It was R5.
I bought one of them off eBay because I got tired of waiting. And then the other one, I waited.
It was like February.
I bought it off Adorama. Yeah, it was 2 or 3 months.
Well, and the problem is they can't, like Sony would never tell Adorama how many they had coming.
Yeah, and they wouldn't tell them anything.
So then they can't tell you like how long you have to wait, like if you're going to be on the next shipment or anything.
They just tell you how many people were on the waiting list is all they would tell
Which,
me.
when I called that day, was not a lot.
Yeah.
It was like 25.
Yeah, but I mean, if they have, you just don't know how many cameras they're making. But I don't know. I don't know what all goes into making that camera. I'm sure it's a lot.
I think they got. Well, every time a camera company releases a new camera, everybody wants one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a delay, no matter what. As soon as they release a camera,
B&H
and then
still doesn't have them.
The second thing is with all the supply chain issues.
Yeah.
All the supply chain issues with the
Rona.
Yeah, with Rona. I think
Which, by the way,
Ryer
is now immune because he got the vaccine.
I'm vaccinated.
Vaccinated AF.
Yeah, I regretted that last night.
Yeah. And just for y'all listening, he did not get it willingly. He had to get it in order to go to Hawaii. He's filming in Hawaii end of the month. If it would have been up to Ryer, he wouldn't have got it. None of us wanted to get it. But in order to go to Hawaii, they make you have it.
And there's a potential Yukon trip. And
have to have
if they open it up, which I'm 50-50 because it's Canada.
Yeah.
But if they open it up, I know for a fact they'd make you have it too.
100%.
So.
And it's still going to make you wear a mask, I'm sure.
My hand was forced. I'm going to be really upset if I have to wear a mask on the freaking plane.
Oh, you will?
Carry your thing with you.
I'm fully plan on it.
If they let you not wear it, I will get one and not have to wear it on the plane.
I'll just use my fake
That's
one.
the only
The
reason to get
plane
it.
is the only place that I've
Because if you said
ever
it's
had
just
to wear a
the
mask.
evening of just total torture for one night, I'll deal with that to not have to wear it on the plane.
Yeah, what happened to me yesterday was I went and got the shot. I got the Johnson & Johnson one.
Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson. Because it's one shot, and I didn't want to have to do 2 shots just because that's annoying and a pain in the butt.
I think you have to wait 2 weeks in between.
Yeah, it was stupid. I was like, I'll just go get one shot.
Yeah.
So I go get one shot. Then I was fine all day. And then I went for a bike ride with my knee.
That's where you went wrong.
Yep, that's where you went wrong.
With my knee hurting. Because I was like, look, I need to feel out what's going on with my knee. So I go for a bike ride with my knee hurting. It wasn't even a hard ride. Like, I was chilling. 20 miles, whatever. I get back. I felt like I had done 100 miles. Like, I've done a hard 80 miles before, and you don't get to talk or snore.
80 You've done 80 miles before?
I did an 80-mile race.
Oh, nice.
I
didn't know that.
I got back from that, and I felt like I had literally got run over by a pickup truck or a semi truck.
And then there's people that run 200 miles.
Yeah, that's stupid. But like,
shows you how inferior we are.
When I got back yesterday, I felt like I had done that, and I knew in my head that I shouldn't be that tired. Like, I couldn't hardly walk. I stood in the shower, leaned up against the shower because I was like, I'm so tired.
Please tell me this. Please do this for me. If you ever like go out and you do it in the shower, at least crawl out and put some clothes on before you call me to have to come get you. Like, 'cause I don't want to have to come get you out of the shower.
To do what? Die?
Yeah, or just like if you're really in bad shape and need some help, at least get yourself out of the shower.
No, I was standing there. I was like, holy crap, this is terrible. Then luckily I already had dinner made, so it was just leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
It was an act of Congress to eat dinner, which, I mean, y'all know I like food.
Yeah.
But I had to sit there and be like, come on, dude, you got to eat something. And I went and got in bed, and I laid in bed all night and did kind of that half sleep rolling over thing that you do when you're like on the front end of a flu and you feel like you're getting sick and you just can't ever get comfortable. That's how it felt all night. And then this morning, I don't think I fully recovered until like halfway through today. So it did a number on me.
Rough deal. Well, Justin asked, ultimately, any regrets buying the camera? If you could.
Wait, I had something else to say.
Oh, sorry. All right, go ahead.
I think, and this goes with any new camera, but especially for going from a FS7 to this size-wise, it takes me longer to do things right now with that camera, just because I don't know where all the stuff is.
Yeah.
With the FS7, because I had ran it for 5 or whatever years, it was like the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I knew how to get everywhere, do everything I needed to do on the camera.
That also has part to do with the new
even
menu.
looking.
It's a new menu system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so there's buttons work a little differently on this, and the menu works a little differently. They've got like 2 separate menus on it, and so like I just know when we were filming with Greg and I would be switching from one thing to the other, it took me longer to switch around modes and stuff like that than I felt like it should have, compared to how fast I could do it on the FS7. And right now I think it's just because I'm not used to it, and I'm hoping that that's the reason. But the menu is not as intuitive as I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
They never are.
Yeah.
They never are as intuitive as they should be.
No, but at least with the FS7 menu, like I could get around it pretty simply.
Well, you also said 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Right.
give that 5 years, and when they come out with their new one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping
Time.
that's it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's definitely a learning curve whenever you get a new camera, trying to figure out all the things it does, especially when it has new stuff. Like when it has new stuff you haven't used before,
Yeah.
and you're trying to figure out how to use that thing
And what it does.
and what it does and how it works
Or
and how
you're
it affects the
Looking
image.
for something, and they call it like, because we were switching between S-Cinetone and S-Log when we were with Greg,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to take it out of a setting, because like they'll show you things in the menu that like you can't activate unless another setting
do
is
something
not,
else.
and we could never figure it out. So like we were with Aaron, and Aaron had to call his buddy that had it way longer than us. He had to like figure out how to do it himself and then walk us through it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's new toys. Justin asked, ultimately, any regrets buying the camera? Would you do it again? Overall, yes, we love the camera. Don't regret buying it. Only thing is, I wish it just had those couple features that we're so used to. This camera might have features that we haven't used yet that might blow those out of the water, but we haven't gotten there yet. There's just some simple things it doesn't have that there's no reason it shouldn't have. But in terms of what we do, it's a perfect camera for what we do. And then the other one was just to confirm, can you use the camera with the current Sony E-mount full-frame lens natively?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
and the autofocus is incredible with this native glass.
Yeah. Autofocus is great. Even though we don't run it a ton, when there is call for it, it's pretty dang quick.
I don't think I've ran the autofocus.
I haven't either, except that day in the office.
Yeah.
But it's got the eye.
You didn't run it any in the wedding?
Mm-mm.
No?
Dog, I'm that good.
Oh, okay.
I was also at F4, so I mean,
Yeah.
you get a foot or so to play with.
So, Anything else on the camera? Is that it?
Yeah.
Here's another thing I wanted to talk about. We'll talk about it live on the podcast and see if what everybody thinks.
Uh-oh.
I originally had the dates for the this thing into July. I can't do it in July, and that's not giving anybody enough time. The other dates I have are
You gonna talk about what that thing is?
the production class.
Oh, you didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. Originally, the production class I was going to do at the end of July. That's not going to give us enough time to do something. We got a lot of stuff going on, and my mother's making me go to the beach. And let's not talk about that. But essentially, we have 3 weekends in August that we can do it. The first weekend in August, the third weekend in August, or no, we could do it the first weekend, the second weekend, or the third weekend, or the fourth weekend in August. We could really do it any weekend in August. Is that because Clinton and Aaron are on this shoot?
Which one?
Right now I have it right here. So we can do it this
Okay.
weekend, this weekend, this weekend, or this weekend.
So you're talking about the
I was gonna
6th?
say
You're
that
talking about the
Yukon
7th,
trip
the
I
14th.
thought was in there somewhere.
No, that's at the beginning of
So you can do it any week. Yeah.
any weekend. So what would be, if y'all had your, as my grandmother says, if you had your druthers, what weekend would y'all like to do it? That way we can announce it outside the podcast.
I'd rather do it in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think the only weekend I wouldn't want to do it would be the one
weekend
before, just so that I could have all of my stuff figured out and packed and whatever.
Okay.
Because if we do it that weekend, I'll have like a day to go to.
My
the
kids start
event,
back
so.
to school on, I think, the 4th or 5th of August. But that's not a big deal. Okay. All right. Well, that'll be the date for the production class. If you're listening, you're the first ones to hear. The production class is going to happen August 6th, 7th, and 8th. We may push that to arriving on Thursday. That way we have all 3 days because it's just a lot to fit into 3 days. But if you're interested in coming again, I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off at 10 slots this year just because that's about all we can fit. And that's all we can really handle because I think we're going to do it in here now. That we have this space, we can fit 10 people in here, don't you think?
Easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can back this up a little bit. Maybe put a TV here, a TV there. We can make this work and have it here in our office. And if we do it over the weekend, we'll have plenty of parking and places to eat, places to stay. So plan on maybe arriving the 5th, evening of the 5th, and then departing the 8th. And we will, I'm going to go ahead and put that on my calendar. That way it makes sense to me. 5th to the 8th. Cost and everything, I'll figure all that out. But
Topics we'll figure out.
topics we'll figure out. It'll probably be a little more, we'll probably go a little bit deeper on the edit side again because that's what a lot of people wanted to know about. And then we'll go out and shoot. It'll be hot. It's Georgia in the summer. It's going to be hot as crap. Just no way around that. We will go and we'll do some work between now and then on what the class is going to be and what it's going to look like. But look for an announcement on social probably tomorrow if y'all are cool with it. Tomorrow, Friday? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's when all the footage gets here. Tomorrow is going to be a late day for me getting all the crap done. So
What footage?
all the stuff that Aaron just got filming.
Oh.
Filming. So they're overnighting it. They got done filming last night. They overnight it today. It'll be here tomorrow. So whenever it gets here, I'll finish graphics package. Hopefully get that approved tomorrow night and get like Craig on standby to approve it. And then hopefully if you have color relatively done tomorrow, we can put it in the template and have show 1 ready to go.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was really hoping to have show 1 done before I left on Saturday because we're leaving Saturday morning.
Fun.
Yep. Donkey's watching your stuff. He just opened the overall winter video. I get an email now. I like that. When people open our link, then we send them. I get an email.
Good.
Really?
Yeah, get an
Have
email.
it for our
It
records.
says link opened.
Really?
All right. That's all we got, guys. We'll hang around, answer some questions if anybody's there. If y'all want anything. Everybody good here?
I'm good.
All right. Peace. right, we're still here. If anybody's still there, we'll answer a couple questions, or we'll just shoot the crap for a minute. Did you see that comment that Mark just made on that, Clay? Mark Melitic, or however you say it.
Introducing each winner later in the video as soon as possible after announcing the award. Which video is this? Overall winner.
June 28th. What's June 28th?
See, I didn't do what he asked because the way that we read it off super quick. So the logo, he wants me to like. So when we re-mention the winners, that's the guy that was in all the other video examples. Mark is.
Yeah.
And he's like, when you read off this broad, like our overall winners, this, and this, we read them so quick that the graphic would just be like, boom, a flash. So that's why I didn't do that. But
Hold on. Dalkey's wanting to know about filming that management piece on the 28th, June 28th, and 29th if there's inclement weather. I told him, I was like, where are we shooting and what are we shooting?
the in and outs of working with clients.
All right. Peace. We out.